everybody. Today we're going to talk about something that I'm sure you've all experienced. In fact, I wouldn't even believe you if you told me this has never happened to you. You are going about your day and your child walks up to you and says, Mom, can we, and then they ask you something. And sometimes it's something totally reasonable, and sometimes it's something that's just not feasible at all. There's no earthly way you could say yes to it. Or maybe you just don't want to, or it doesn't fit in with your plans, and you say, no, sweetie. So this is the moment that sometimes things go terribly, terribly wrong. You didn't see this coming. You didn't know what your child's expectations or hopes or dreams were. They just come up to you and they make a request and you say, sorry, that's not available right now. And then suddenly your day takes a turn that you weren't expecting. This is a situation that my client had. She said it was okay to talk about her. I'm not going to say her name, but she actually lives in a different country, and we were just talking on an internet call. But in 2 sessions, we've actually seen a huge change. So I thought I would go over all the things that we tried and things that were working, things that didn't work, so that she could have a record of everything that we talked about, and also everybody else could sort of learn by following along. So you get the basic scenario. Mom, can I take my breakfast outside? No, sweetie, we're just about to go. This little boy, he was about 5 or 6 years old, was just not handling the word no. This kind of explosive response was happening more often with Mom than with other people, and we weren't sure why that was. So we talked about, okay, well, what do you say? And then what does he say? Like, how is this progressing? How is this spinning out so quickly? And from what she told me, she wasn't doing anything terrible. Like, she wasn't breaking any big major rules. So obviously the first question is, well, do you give in? Do you say, okay, fine? No, absolutely not. She was very firm in her refusal. That's not happening, sweetie. But the explosions were happening and happening. All right, so when you see something like that, when you don't see like an immediate payoff in the sort of world of behavior, you look for another payoff, or you look for a missing skill. Sometimes when kids get stressed out, they lose some problem-solving skills and they engage in behavior that's not really getting them anything, but they've kind of hit a wall. They're just at a dead end. So we tried to rewind and see, like, where can we intervene? Where can we make a change so that you're not in this situation? Because you can't always see it coming. And once you say no, things seem to just explode very, very quickly. So what can we do about this? Well, obviously we can't start right at that moment, at the no. Like, when a child is screaming in your face, when a child is running to his room and slamming the door and tearing his bedroom apart, this is not your ideal problem-solving moment. He's upset. You're upset. Nobody's thinking clearly. Logic does not apply. So, unfortunately, a lot of the strategies that you get as a parent are about what you need to do in that moment. So they tell you, don't give in. Okay, cool. We're doing that. They tell you, just ignore it. Sometimes our kids can't have trouble calming down by themselves, and some kids have a really they're really good at making sure that we can't ignore them. So for example, what would you do if you're trying to ignore your child's tantrum, like you were told, and he goes over and smacks his sister? What do you do in that case? It's really, really hard to do a full-on pure ignore. Like, that doesn't always work. So unfortunately, these kind of classic, out-of-the-box, very typical parenting strategies were just not getting her anywhere. This poor mama was stuck in these explosive arguments that were happening like every day, and they were going on for hours. So we looked at where we can change things. What people often do, because they're kind of sensible human beings, they try one of 2 things, and fair enough. This wasn't working, but I understand where they're coming from. One thing that a lot of parents try in that moment is that they're told, okay, stay calm. They're logical. They say, sorry, sweetie, it's closed. Oh, I gave them a logical reason. We're done, right? No, we're not done. Unfortunately, sometimes logic just doesn't compute. There's there's logic, and then over here there's hopes, dreams, expectations. Kids sometimes have trouble switching from one plan to another, so they, even though this is a dead end, they just keep on hammering away at that one possibility, even though logically they've been told that door is closed, that door is not opening. And then this is sometimes a helpful attitude. It doesn't always get us all the way there, but it's a nice one. It involves staying calm and being sympathetic. So that's the first thing we tried. We noticed that the word no was really triggering this boy, and so I asked Mom to just try a rephrase. "Oh, sweetie, you really wanted to go outside." Because then the kid can say, "Yeah, I did really want to go outside," and you're on the same page, you're on the same team. So this actually helped for a while. She said it helped for about 10 days, and then because her child is very, very bright, he sort of picked up on the pattern. He noticed, when Mom starts sympathizing with me, that means I'm not getting what I want. And so what happened was, because we had 2 sessions together, things were going well, we took some time away, we came back, and she said, "It worked for a while." I said, "Oh, sweetie, you really wanted to go outside?" And then he just exploded again. It was almost exactly like I had said no, because he saw the pattern. So what else can we do? What we noticed was that he had these very high expectations. "You're going to do this for me, and once you can't do this for me, I'm upset, and now you have to calm me down. And so you have to either give me what I want or direct me to something that makes me feel better." I really, really sympathized with this mom at that point, because actually one of my kids went through a very similar pattern. It took him a long time to do that self-soothing thing. You know, that thing that babies are supposed to do? This was not a kid who learned that as an infant. I know I'm a behavior therapist and I'm supposed to be like clinical and cold-hearted and say like, "Oh, just cry it out," or I was never able to kind of stand it long enough to let him self-soothe. I just had this feeling like, ooh, we are not getting there. And even when he was old enough to ask for what he wanted, or even stand up and go and get what he wanted, there was so much resistance. For example, he really liked this little, I should go and get it, this little a soother, and I didn't give him the soother, that was my mom, and this monkey. So the soother and the monkey, everything, the world is right again. But he wouldn't walk over and get it. So something would happen, he would fall down and he would cry and he would say, "Munty wah wah!" And I would say, "Yes, your soother and your monkey are right there. You can go and get it." "Munty wah wah!" So I was suddenly responsible for bringing it to him. Like, that didn't really sit well with me. So we really had to work on, okay, well, how about I just like put it a little bit close to you and then you can reach for it? Because I always wanted to move toward that. Let's do things that make ourselves feel better. But, at the end of the day, I'm his mom, and I just want to help him feel better. So we kind of made that compromise. I'm going to tell you one more story about that Munty Wawa, because we did actually reach a breaking point. I used to drive him back and forth to, I would bring him with me to do a little job. It was quite far away, but it wasn't very long. So we'd do a little drive together and he would sit in the back in his little seat at about 2 years old. And on the drive, he really liked having a soother with him. So I'd bring a bunch of different soothers and he would have them, and then he'd just spit them out and they'd fall to the bottom of the car. And somehow I was expected on this drive to reach around behind me onto the floor of the car and find the soother and then deliver it back to him. And one day I just thought, okay, like, this is not working for either of us. This is not a fun game for me, and it's not safe, so we're not going to do it anymore. So, I mean, he's 2, but I said, "Honey, if you drop your soother today, I'm not going to be able to get it for you." So I didn't, and he dropped it, and all I could do was just count how many times he asked for it, and he asked for it 203 times. I mean, I live in Toronto, the traffic is really terrible. If you live here, you know what I mean. If you can imagine being on the 404, hearing a child saying the word Munty Wawa for 203 times. Yes, so we go through these very frustrating stages where our kids are coming to us in distress and we want to help them, but we also want them to learn how to problem solve when they're a little bit upset. So that's a really, really hard thing to do. So what do? Don't worry, there's a happy ending to this story. We met for a second time, and we kept using one strategy that we had suggested the first time, which was preventing a lot of the meltdowns. It's the proactive strategy. Like, why not just solve the problem before it happens? So what we would do is we would help set expectations. If there was a case where we were going somewhere, Mom would say, okay, here's what we're going to do. He even had a little notebook, and he would write it down in his little mission notebook. So we would set the expectations and get really clear on what he was hoping for and what Mom was hoping for, so that we could come to an agreement before anybody's upset. So that was all written down, and when they were able to plan it together, that was great. I also suggested that when this mom and child was in a calm place, maybe they could put together like a calm down strategy. Like, oh, you know, sometimes when you ask me for something and I can't give it to you, it's really hard. And we had this whole plan for sympathizing and helping him come up with strategies that would calm him down. So far, he has not taken us up on that conversation. It's kind of been hard to lead us into that. But fortunately, Mom is very resourceful, and we did one more thing that really, really helped. So here's where we are right now. She's blissfully happy, and I'm so excited. I keep checking in with her just to see how she's doing. When her son comes to her and asks her a question, because we know that an instant no or logic or just a reason that's just not good enough in that moment for him to be able to cope with the no. So here's what she says. I wrote it down exactly. She says, okay. And I love that because it kind of, okay, we're on the same team. Okay, you can't have X or you can't do Y, but let's talk about other choices. It's so simple, but it's that little tweak has made a huge difference. She said in the last 2 weeks, there's only been one case where a no has led to an escalation, and it was sort of a smaller, like a shorter argument, but that he was able to calm down. So I like throwing it back to the kid, but in a collaborative way. Do you see the difference? Instead of like, no, that's not available, go find something else to do. Like, I'm not on your team. She's signaling with her language, I'm inviting, like, I'm going to work with you. I hear what you're saying. I know what you want. And let's figure out something else that we can do. And that was it. For some reason, for this little relationship, that saved them a lot of grief and misery, which just makes me so happy. So I have to share it with you. Anyway, thank you for listening to all this. I'm sure you can relate 100%. And if you're still trying to find that little conversation, that is going to help your child cope with the no's when they come and it's not quite working, you can post it on the page, you can post it in the behavior support group, or you can message me and we can talk it through and figure out the solution that's going to save you some grief. So thanks a lot, and I hope you're enjoying your summer. Take care.